Long before the first ships from Europe reached the distant shores of tropical Africa, a powerful and peaceful network of trade already existed. It was a vast commercial system whose markets and links by land and sea stretched as far as India and China. Its African heart lay far from the coast, here in the great medieval empire of Mali. Today, Mali is among the poorest countries in the world. But 600 years ago, it was a land of wealth and comfort. This is Jenne, still a flourishing market town, but once a commercial center of far-ranging importance. Jenne guaranteed the prosperity of a great regional system, attracting camel caravans which brought merchandise from all points of the compass. The reason is explained in a single word. This was an economy based on gold. And that gold is much in evidence even today. The fascinating story of the Caravans of Gold may be unknown or quite forgotten in the outside world, but here in Jenne it's a story that remains vividly alive. Even a little side street of this ancient city, once part of the great empire of Mali, can afford a glimpse of rich traditions from the past. The fine jewelry of his craft still reflects the brilliance of the golden trade of old West Africa. The smith usually works from quantities of gold dust, melted in a crucible, and then fashioned by skillful beating into shapes long hallowed by tradition. The design of these earrings may reflect the art of the individual craftsman, but it never strays too far from the recognized styles preferred by the different peoples of the region, Bambara, Mandinka, Soninke, and others. Each of these peoples has its own distinctive jewelry. The size, rather than the style, gives an indication of a person's standing. Here, gold has always been used as much for display as for a standard of wealth. By about AD 1250, the oldest gold fields along the upper reaches of the Niger River to the west of Jenne were becoming exhausted. But to the great advantage of trading towns like Jenne, a new source of gold began to be developed. Rich quantities of gold now came from the country to the south, today part of the modern Republic of Ghana. This development brought power and wealth to the forest people, and in due course to those of the kingdom of Ashanti. Even today, King Opoku-Ware, traditional ruler of Ashanti, can still display the glittering opulence which so astonished the first Europeans who visited this kingdom, founded 3 centuries ago. The Ashanti use of gold is lavish and extraordinary, and it reflects the golden wealth of the grand empires of Western Africa in the Middle Ages. More than 900 years ago, a North African historian described the royal court and ceremonial of that distant time in the empire of ancient Ghana, almost as though he were describing King Opoku-Ware of today.
The king adorns himself like a woman, wearing necklaces and bracelets of gold. Behind him stand pages holding shields and swords decorated with gold. And on his right are the sons of the subordinate kings of his country, all wearing splendid garments, and their hair plaited with gold.
Today, most of the king's political power has gone. But in accordance with tradition, the king still has the right to promote his subordinate chiefs to higher ranks. These chiefs, as on similar occasions in the past, come forward one by one to reaffirm their loyalty and offer royal praises. Ashanti power rested on farming prosperity and military strength, but its gold had long attained a far wider influence. By a fortunate blessing, the majestic Niger, called by its people the River of Singers, lay to the north. A learned Egyptian visitor of the 14th century described this great trading region as 4 months of travel long and 4 months wide. The Mali Empire was, in fact, among the biggest trading systems in the world, with its roots in the gold of Western Africa. From the markets of the Upper Niger to those of Hausaland and Bornu, a distance wider than Western Europe, the Niger still carries a daily traffic whose style and tones speak for an ancient stability and peace. Gold here was always important, but nobody can eat gold. The Niger has always provided fish in abundant quantities, and that's a vital source of protein in a local diet based largely on cereals. With no means of refrigeration in this hot climate, immediate drying or smoking of the fish has been essential, if they're to be kept for any length of time. By custom, this work is done by women, who usually share the profit on a family basis. Smoke-dried fish is carried and sold to towns and villages far from the river itself. A day's journey from Jenne, downstream along this broad river highway, traders reach Mopti, nowadays the biggest market along this section of the Niger. I've come to this port on the great inland waterway of West Africa, the River Niger, more than 1,000 miles from the sea, because it's always been a vital artery of trade.